Esaena el Harim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri Esaena el Harim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri Ezri Me'im Adonai Ose Shamayim V'Haaretz Ezri Me'im Adonai Ose Shamayim V'Haaretz Ha'itein lamod raglecha Hayanum shomrecha Hine lo yanum velo ishan Shomer Yisrael Adonai Shomrecha Adonai tzilcha Oyad yeminecha Adonai Shomrecha Adonai tzilcha Oyad yeminecha Yomam HaShemesh lo yakeka Ve'yareach balayla Adonai yishmorcha mikora Yishmor et nafshecha Adonai yishmor tzedcha uvoecha me'ata ve'ad olam Adonai yishmor tzedcha uvoecha me'ata ve'ad olam Al mekomo yavo v'shalom. Shir Lama'alot, a song for ascending. I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come? My help comes from Adonai, from God, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your guardian will not slumber. You see, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian, your protection at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your life. God will guard your going and coming now and forever. May Saul Rifkin go unto God in peace. A reading from Psalm 121. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai roi lo echsar. Binodeh sheyarbitzeni al mei menuchot, Yenahaleni nafshi yeshovev. Yancheni v'maglei tzedek leman shemo. Gam ki elech bekeitzav mavet lo irara, ki ata imadi. Shiftecha umishantecha hema yenachamuni. Taroch lefanai shulchanei ged sorarai. Dishan tav Hashem en roshi kosi rivaya. Achto achek yirdefuni kol yemei chayai. Beshanti beved Adonai leorech yamim. A Psalm of David. Adonai, God is my shepherd, I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside the still waters, and restores my soul. Guides me on the right path, for that is God's will. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear not, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare before me a banquet in front of my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and loving kindness shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, dayan ha'emet. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, who rules the universe, the judge of truth. Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, yehi shem Adonai mevorach. V'hu rachum yechaper v'lo yashchit. V'yarba la'ashiv apo v'lo yir kol chamato. V'yashov he'afar al haaretz shehaya, v'aruach tashuv el ha'elohim asher netana. The dust returns to the earth as it was, but the spirit returns to God who gave it. May our beloved soul be bound up in the bond of life eternal, and may God send comfort to those who mourn and grant strength to those whose burden is sorrow. I would like to thank everyone who is able to be here, and also everyone who is tuned in to the live stream broadcast of this service. We're still, even a year after the beginning of this pandemic, finding that we have to find new ways, unfamiliar ways to express our grief and our mourning. We can't be together physically, but we hope that soon we will be able to return to these familiar rituals and traditions that are such an important part of how Jewish people deal with such difficult times in our lives. We are grateful for technology and the fact that we can be together in a limited way, and we look forward to when we can return to our familiar ways. But I want to thank everyone who has sent messages, text messages, emails, phone calls to Saul's family, expressing your love, sharing stories, joining your hearts together with their hearts, which are now broken and in grief, and especially to people who were able to be here with us today, and our volunteer pallbearers. Thank you so much for the mitzvah. Because today we come together to honor Saul Rifkin, to do what our tradition says is the highest form of respect we can offer someone, and that is to accompany him here to his final resting place. By his Hebrew name, Saul is known as Shneir Zalman ben Yehoshua Freidel, the son of Harry Rifkin and Frida Berg, Zichronam Livracha, of blessed memory. Beloved husband of Barbara Rifkin, Zichrona Livracha, of blessed memory. Father of Gerald and Martin, father-in-law to Margot, and grandfather, Zeta, to Jesse, Jada, Nicole, and Eric. As well, a teacher and a principal who touched countless lives throughout his career, and a dear friend. Saul passed away on Saturday, the 21st day in the Hebrew month of Nisan. He was 91. He was predeceased by his parents, Harry and Frida, by his wife of 60 years, Barbara, and by his brother Max and sister Rose. I have the honor of reading the hesped, the eulogy, that Martin wrote for today's service. But just by way of introduction, I wanted to share a teaching from the Talmud, where we are told that the tears shed at the passing of an Adam Kasher are so precious to God that God counts each of them and stores them in a divine treasure house. So we ask, what is an Adam Kasher? Why not Adam Chashuv, an important man, or Adam Gadol, a great man? When the term kasher, kosher, is applied to a person, it implies integrity, a goodness, a life lived in the spirit of Judaism. It includes a life of involvement with family, service to community, and reverence for God. I bring this up because yesterday I had the opportunity to spend some time with Gerald and Martin on a Zoom call where they were telling me stories and helping me understand the man we are honoring today. Their opening comments I found very telling. When I asked, admitting that I didn't know Saul very well or really even at all, Gerald and Martin said he was a very gentle man. Sure, as you're going to hear, he was the kind of guy who would get up, especially at a wedding, and offer a rousing toast. But he was reserved. He was a nice, truly kind person, a mensch. He cared about people and was drawn to his life's work as a teacher and later a principal. He loved telling stories, opening their minds, getting up in front of the class, and engaging the students. He was a devoted husband and father who, along with Barbara, raised their sons by a well-established set of life values and principles. Get a good education, be adventurous, excel at whatever you choose to do. Don't chase material things. He was so proud of his sons and would boast about their career successes, though he was quick to remind them, Rifkins don't toot their own horns. He loved theater and music and art, and along with Barbara, helped instill in their sons a passion for music, especially live shows. Throughout our conversation yesterday, we went on a few tangents, recalling some of the concerts Gerald and Martin got to attend even as 7 or 8-year-olds, like the Guess Who in 1969, where with their parents they were surrounded by a world of counterculture and hippies. Or Led Zeppelin at a summer show in 1970, where if I have it right, Gerald got to go in, but Martin had to sit in the car. He just wasn't old enough. The point was, this started them down a long path that to this day they are proud of, a love of rock and roll, a love of music, a love of art. And we can't go any further without mentioning that when it comes to music, Saul himself was a talented clarinetist, often drawing comparisons from Friends to Benny Goodman. As well as grandparents, Bubby and Zeta, Saul and Barbara together carved out special relationships with their grandkids. I learned of stories for Jesse when he would visit from Toronto, and they would set up their home as Camp Winnipeg for the summer, with a full itinerary of activities, Goldeyes games, museum trips, lunch at Colecus. Anytime their granddaughter Jada, who was an actress, was in a show, they would fly in from Winnipeg and sit in the front row, even if she only had a small part. They would always follow up on Nicole's career as a celebrated illustrator. As I mentioned in this opening teaching, an Adam Kasher, someone with a commitment to family, community, and Jewish values. Now, I will turn to the eulogy, the hesped, that I have the honor of reading, written by Martin. Saul Rifkin was born October 19th, 1930 in Selkirk, Manitoba, and was raised in Selkirk. His mother, Frida Berg, moved from Traskin, Lithuania in 1920 to Selkirk, Manitoba. In 1900, Harry, Rifkin's father, left Shadrin, Belarus and settled in New York, and Harry joined him later, living on Delancey Street in the Lower East Side. Harry's father was advised to move to a drier climate and new people in Selkirk, so they moved to Selkirk. Harry joined the army in World War I and served in Ypres. He returned to Selkirk, worked on a boat called the Bradbury, and was also a fur trader. He married Frida, and they opened a general store in Selkirk. They bought another store and lived in back of the store. Saul lived there with his parents, with his brother Max and sister Rose. Saul worked his childhood in the store and family hot dog stand, assisting his father with fur trapping, and he helped with chickens in their yard. Saul went to public school in Selkirk, graduated from high school in 1947, and went to United College, where he received his BA and then worked at Selkirk Mental Hospital for 1.5 years. He then went to grad school at the University of Minnesota to study psychology. Saul went to Prince George, BC, to become an assistant hotel manager at a hotel, and also, with his wife Barbara, spent time in Whitehorse, Yukon. He again decided to further his education and studied at the University of Manitoba, where he received his BA in education. He taught chemistry, math, and English as a second language in the Transcona School Division, where he pioneered several innovative programs, including annual science fairs, an adult education evening school, and a school-based Air Cadet program. He served as principal in 2 elementary schools in Transcona and at Transcona Collegiate High School. I will just add, in my research I found out that when he became principal at Transcona Collegiate, he was the first Jewish high school principal in the Winnipeg area. Saul later became a school principal at Ramah Hebrew School and then worked for the Winnipeg School Division, as well as for Jewish Child and Family Services as an English as a second language teacher for new immigrants to Canada. He did this until his retirement. Many times, Saul and his family would meet his former students in public who would thank him for his mentorship and contribution to their successes. He met and married Barbara Permack in 1956, and both graduated from the University of Manitoba. They had 2 children, Gerald born in 1957 and Martin born in 1960. They lived in Garden City in Winnipeg for years before Saul and Barbara moved to their home on Wellington Crescent. Saul lived life to the fullest. He was a mason, avid curler and bridge player, amateur artist, and poet. He loved traveling with his wife Barbara, along with their close friends, to many places worldwide. Along with Barbara, Saul loved entertaining many friends at their famous fun-filled parties, complete with costumes, ethnic foods, and entertainment with themes from countries that they had visited. Saul enjoyed his beloved Winnipeg Blue Bombers and would never give up hopes of them winning the Grey Cup. He knew they would eventually win the Cup. He also loved the Winnipeg Jets, and until the last few months, he would watch most games in real time via FaceTime with his son Martin. He was a dedicated father and family man, a baseball coach for his kids' teams, drove his kids to early morning swimming practices, swim meets, volleyball games, and music gigs. Every summer, he took his family on extensive camping trips throughout Canada and the United States with plenty of sing-songs on the highway, campfires, axing wood to make fires, and fishing. He then enjoyed many wonderful summers with his family and friends at the Rifkin campground site at Spruce Sands, north of Gimli. Saul always stressed the importance of education and guided his son's education at all levels. He loved his grandchildren, and he and Barbara would visit Toronto and Florida many times to enjoy their grandchildren. He loved and took pride in attending their B'nai Mitzvahs, school graduations, and other life events. Saul was a passionate toastmaster and would love to stand up and make a toast at every family get-together, large or small. He always commanded everyone's attention and made us realize how important each and every event was. He was famous for his wedding Tsugakumener speeches, when he would introduce the new Tsugakumener, the new outcast or new spouse, to the family, always with great love and laughter in return. After his retirement, Saul and Barbara traveled extensively and spent 10 years as tour guides for a seniors tour company, leading 3 tours per year and visiting 14 different countries, including Greece, Spain, Israel, Italy, China, Morocco, Egypt, Baja, California. After Barbara passed away, Saul moved from their home on Wellington Crescent to the Shaftesbury residence and remained very active, playing bridge and leading the poetry club, and contributed to the poetry book published there. His last year was very difficult due to isolation as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and deteriorating health status. And his family is heartbroken not to be with him physically. But they would do their best to stay in touch with the aid of virtual technology. Saul Rifkin is survived by his sons Gerald of Toronto, Martin with Margot of Gainesville, Florida, and grandchildren Jesse and Jada of Toronto, Nicole in Jersey City, and Eric in Gainesville, Florida. He will also be greatly missed by all of his family and friends. I want to thank Martin for writing this eulogy and for the honor of being able to deliver it, Martin, on your behalf, for everyone watching and for those who are here. It seems to me, speaking personally now, that the memories we have shared today and the memories we will continue to share in the coming days, weeks, months, and years of Saul Rifkin are more than just good stories. They are life lessons, as you would expect from a man who would, I'm believing, would be considered a born teacher, someone who was a role model and truly an educator. They are pearls of wisdom, examples to live by, and they will live on as part of Saul Rifkin's legacy. It's my honor now to chant on behalf of Saul the El Malei Rachamim, the memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Ba'meromi, Hamtzei Menucha Nechona Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, B'malot Kedoshim Uterim, Kezohar Arakia Mazhirim, Et Nishman Shneir Zalman Ben Yoshua Ufredo Shalach Leolamo, Began, 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 Edente Menuchato, Anabal Harachamim, Hasti Reu Beseter Knafecha Leolamim, Utzror, Pitzror Achaim Et Nishmato, Adonai Hu Nachalato, V'yanuach B'shalom, Hamishkavo, V'nomar, Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of Saul Rifkin, son of Harry and Frida, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that he find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Again, I want to thank everyone who has been here, our pallbearers, and everyone who has tuned in to the service. As I mentioned before, if you've reached out to the family, it never hurts to reach out again, or if you haven't yet, please send your messages, whether they're phone calls or emails or text messages. It's very difficult to go through these moments at the best of times, but certainly here in a pandemic, when we can't do something even as simple as sitting Shiva, we have to find new ways to be together as a family, as friends, and as a community. But speaking of Shiva, the family, Saul's family, is organizing a Zoom Shiva, which will be happening this Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, Winnipeg time. Please be in touch with Martin, who will send out invites and the link to be able to bring people together to share more stories and to continue both honoring Saul and his legacy and also comforting his sons and their families. To the family, I offer these words, Hamakom yinachem etchem betoch sha'ar avelei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May you be comforted and consoled. May we all be comforted and consoled among those who are in mourning or who have ever been in mourning in our community. In a moment, we will conclude our service with the recitation of the Mourner's Kaddish, and folks who are here will have the opportunity to shovel earth into the grave in our time-honored ritual, which ties into the first thing that I mentioned at the beginning of our service, that the highest form of respect we have in Jewish tradition is to accompany our loved ones to their final resting place and lay them to rest with our own hands. Kind, knowing, sorrowful hands, hands that once held their hands. It is a painful act, but we are reminded that it is one born of love and compassion for someone who meant so much to so many people. For people who are here who want to participate in this mitzvah, there are shovels on both sides of the earth. There's even a small pail on my side here, in case the shovels are too overwhelming or too hard to handle. Most people pour 3 shovelfuls of dirt, but there are different customs. Some people use the front of the shovel, some people use the back. Some people return the shovel to the earth when they're done. Some people pass it to the next person. I always encourage people, use and embrace the ritual with which you are familiar, to add meaning to this. Earlier in the service, we offered the words of Job. Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, yehi shem Adonai mevarach. God, you have given, God, you have taken away, blessed be the name of God. May the memory of Saul Rifkin be for a blessing, as we mark that his essence will never leave our hearts and souls. The Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, b'agala uv'izman kari v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivorach le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'tadar, v'taleh, v'talal, shmei dekudsha, b'richu. Leila, min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. May the one who creates peace and harmony on high bring peace and harmony to us, to all Israel, to all humanity. And again, let us say, Amen. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.